Hi there. I recently had an opportunity to share my story with a large online audience. It was an audience of Sonova, Phonak and Advanced Bionics employees. Now, the session was recorded and it was about 30 minutes long, and when I looked at some of the footage I thought, I can maybe cut up a bit of this and share some more of my story with you. After all, stories can only be retold so many times. Now, the first part, so I'm splitting this part of the CI20 into two parts. This first part is all about before implantation, so have a watch and I'll see you in a minute. I won't lie, it took a long time to get here and a lot of struggle. Being the youngest of three children, my parents suspected I lost my hearing when I was about 18 months old. It wasn't until I was 4 years old, however, that I got the diagnosis of profound hearing loss in both ears. My parents were devastated by this diagnosis. My father didn't cope particularly well, and my mother blamed herself, thinking it was something she had done. So this was happening in 1979. It took 2.5 years for my hearing loss to be diagnosed, and I was fitted with hearing aids. Before the diagnosis, one doctor actually did say to my parents, "Your son is either incredibly deaf or incredibly stupid." According to my medical records, the hearing aids really helped with my development and even helped my mother to persuade a teacher to enroll me in a mainstream school so that I could join my elder sisters in the same school. But before I go on with the rest of the story, there's a children's poem I would like to share with you, and it's called Humpty Dumpty. This might be a well-known poem in your country, but this is how it goes. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Now, we're going to come back to Humpty Dumpty later. So I was fitted with hearing aids and I seemed to perform quite well at school. But my mum told me many times that whenever she came to collect me from school, she would always find me playing by myself in the corner of the room. And the reason for this was I was being bullied relentlessly at school. In a mainstream school, my hearing loss really stood out. And this went on to teenage years of never feeling good enough. Being a teenager is difficult enough as it is. But just a few weeks before leaving school, the worst ever bullying incident happened. And what happened was I was pushed into a toilet by 3 other boys. They removed one of my hearing aids and they flushed it down the toilet. So like many deaf children before me and many since, I was experiencing the shame, the humiliation and the embarrassment that comes with having hearing loss. I was so ashamed of that incident that I didn't even talk to my parents about it. So I went straight to the hospital by bus and I waited for hours until the hospital issued me with a new hearing aid. They did this without question. I basically said the dog had eaten my hearing aid. So thank God for our National Health Service in the UK. This is the hospital that I've been visiting since I was 3 years old. But sadly, there was even bullying within my own extended family. I had an auntie who would deliberately shout and speak like this because she thought it would help. Now, I'm sure her intentions were good, but in the moment, I just felt stupid. Another relative of mine would also mock my speech whenever he came round to visit. So for me, growing up was pretty tough. Looking back, I can't really put into words how isolated I felt growing up. But I know that for many of us, this is what we have to go through in order to become who we are destined to be. So when I was growing up, I had always wanted to be an airline pilot. And people would say things like, you won't be able to do that. So my childhood and any dreams that I had were always being limited by the comments that people would make. When you're young and you're constantly told what you can and can't do, you start to believe this. And it's only in recent years that I've had to unpick years of conditioning. And sadly, this conditioning was done to me by hearing people. For me, the final straw was when I was 19. I was at work one day, my hearing was deteriorating, and I couldn't really do the job that I was employed to do anymore. I was fired from my job. That's how bad my hearing got. So instead of going home and seeking the comfort of my family or registering for unemployment support, I instinctively went straight to the hospital without an appointment and demanded to be seen. I waited for hours, but eventually I had some time with an audiological scientist, and she told me about cochlear implants. I had to basically go to the hospital without an appointment and demand to be seen to find out about cochlear implants, to learn about cochlear implants. And that makes me angry today that I had to summon up that much, courage or whatever to learn about cochlear implants. Now, I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had gone home that day. I probably wouldn't be giving this presentation to you now. So imagine if I had not gone to the hospital that day and demanded to be helped. Life could have turned out very differently. So that was the first part. Now, if you go ahead and listen to episode 7, this will tell you all about what happened next. And it's very, very exciting. Have a watch. Take care for now. Bye.